Think about where you live. It is probably in a home that provides you with food, water, and shelter. Every living thing needs a home. Now, have you ever thought about where animals live? Animals live in all sorts of places that are called habitats. There are many different habitats all over the world. An animal's habitat provides them with food, water, and shelter, which are all the things they need in order to survive. Each habitat has various weather conditions that only certain animals are adapted to survive in. Now, get ready to go on an adventure because we are off to explore the grassland habitats, the desert habitats, the forest habitats, the tundra habitats, and the aquatic habitats. We are also going to see some of the animals that live in these different habitats. Our first step on the journey is the grassland habitat. Grassland habitats are mostly covered in grasses, and they have very few trees or bushes. In grassland habitats, there are periods where there is rainfall, but they are typically followed by periods of dryness and droughts. Grasslands have flat terrains and they are very open. Fires often occur in grasslands because of the dryness. The weather conditions are very moderate in grassland habitats. Animals that live in grasslands have to get used to dry, moderate, and windy conditions. There's often a shortage of water, so that is something they have to adapt to also. Many grazing animals like zebras, antelopes, and deer live in grasslands. They have to adapt to live in the moderate conditions, and for food, they eat grasses and plants. Predator animals like hyenas, lions, and cheetahs also live in grasslands. For food, they eat grazing animals or smaller animals like rabbits and mice. The grassland habitat provides these animals with food, water, and shelter that they need to survive. The movie The Lion King took place in a grassland habitat. Now, pull out your flip-flops and shorts because we're off to the desert habitat. Desert habitats have very little rainfall. To be exact, deserts get less than 10 inches of rainfall a year. Most deserts are very hot, dry, and sunny during the day, but they get cooler during the night. Most of the deserts are covered in very coarse textured soils. There is also very little plant life in the desert because plants cannot survive in the dry, hot conditions. Animals that live in the desert have to be able to survive in these intense conditions. Camels are a type of animal that live in the desert. Their bodies are well adapted to live in the harsh conditions. They can store water in the lining of their stomachs, and they can store fat in their humps. This comes in handy because food and water is scarce in the desert. Many reptiles also live in the desert, like cobras, rattlesnakes, and geckos. Their bodies can also survive in the conditions that the desert brings. They are cold-blooded, which means they use the environment to regulate their body temperature. They sleep during the day by burrowing themselves in the ground or hiding themselves under a rock to avoid heat. Then they are active during the cooler conditions that the night brings. They can go a few days without eating or drinking, but when they do eat, they eat rodents and insects that live in the desert. Even though the desert doesn't sound like a very fun place to live, there are some animals that have adapted to survive in it. Now pack your bags because we are off to the forest habitats. Forest habitats are characterized by the dense amount of trees. Most forests also get a lot of rainfall to support all the plant and animal life. There are multiple types of forest, but today we are going to explore the rainforest. Rainforests have warm temperatures all year long. They receive plenty of rainfall with an average of 100 inches of rainfall per year. The air in the rainforest is very warm and moist. There are hundreds of different plants and trees that grow in rainforests. There are so many trees in a rainforest that they create a thick canopy layer that is high above the ground. Because of the dense amount of trees, the flora in the rainforest does not get very much sunlight. So most of the animals living in the rainforest have adapted to live up in the trees. Monkeys like orangutans, gorillas, and spider monkeys live in rainforest because they have adapted to live up in trees and they eat things like insects, fruit, bark, or leaves that are provided by the trees. Birds like toucans and parrots also live in the trees of the rainforest. They eat things like fruits, nuts, and seeds that are found in the trees.
Created using Powtoon.